Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another super cool radio interview. I'm your host, always, Matthew Thomas. Thank you so much for tuning in. I have a great guest joining me at this time who I'm excited to have on the podcast. On February 7th, Wisconsin-based Archers released their latest single entitled Never Enough. Please welcome from tour right now, Grayson, the drummer for Archers.
How's it going, man? Thank you for having me.
Of course. So I appreciate your time. As I mentioned, you guys are currently on tour. So how has everything been going so far?
Oh, it's been a blast. I mean, this lineup is something that we've always, all three of these bands are bands that we've either played with before or talked about wanting to play with. And we've known, some of the guys in all three of these bands forever. So I think it's really cool to finally have a lineup that is so focused on all of these like up and coming bands. Obviously, Catch Your Breath is killing it. Funeral Portrait's killing it. We've known the dudes, and if not for me, forever. So it's been a blast. I have no complaints at all.
All right. Well, I'm really glad to hear it. And as you said, the bill for this tour, for this tour you guys are currently on sounds amazing. I love Funeral Portrait. They are amazing. So
Great band.
Oh yeah. But all the bands you guys are currently touring with sounds incredible. So I'm curious. So what have been some of the highlights from this tour so far?
Dallas, Texas was a massive highlight. It was probably the biggest club show we've ever played. I mean, the crowd was it was just one of the, you always hear bands talk about crowds where you couldn't see the end, and that was absolutely one of those nights. The crowd was huge. They were energetic. I mean, from the first band, they were singing every word and moshing and jumping and crowd surfing, and Dallas was awesome. I think Atlanta is going to be another great show, but so far, Dallas is taking the cake for sure.
Oh, that sounds awesome. It's always cool to get those club shows and people are into it. There's a bunch of people who showed up. It just makes it so much, obviously great for you guys and of course the fans as well.
Oh, it was a blast. It was so fun.
So I'm curious. So, obviously we're recording this on the 17th. So where are you guys currently right now?
We are in Houston, Texas. So the last three shows actually have all been Texas. We did Dallas, and then we did Austin last night, and we're in Houston tonight. So we are in Houston.
Very nice, very nice. So obviously I will be transitioning talking about the latest single, Never Enough. But before we get to that, so I'm curious for you. So with the set list for Archers, do you have it's already kind of set? Do you guys change it up every night? How do you guys determine a set list for tour?
This tour was a bit different just because we had a couple new songs that we were throwing into the mix. We're opening with a song called Perfect Strangers, which we put out at the end of last year. And that has been really fun to open. We have a really cool walk-on that we do with it. Obviously, Never Enough. We knew that was going to be coming out on this tour, so we put that in the set list. So we even, with as much new stuff too, we kind of brought some older songs back too. We're playing a song called Composure that we actually haven't played in a year. So we have a 40-minute set on this tour, and there's everything from older songs, brand new songs. First week of this tour, everywhere that we played, Never Enough wasn't even out yet, so they all got to hear it early, and it was super fun.
All right, and so how's the crowd response been to Never Enough when you perform it live?
Oh, it's been awesome. Even like I said before, it was out and we were playing it. Once that breakdown hits, that breakdown is so simple but so effective that the crowd just kind of knows what to do. So it's been fun. It's so cool with this crowd. Everybody has come for all of the bands. So it's not like a normal tour where you're in an opening slot and you kind of have to warm the crowd up by the time the headliner gets there. The second the first band hits the stage, they're ready to go. And it's been like that literally every night. So it's been awesome.
Oh, it definitely has been. And sounds like obviously the crowd has been responding to everything. You guys have been having a great time on tour. So that kind of does lead me, as we were talking about the latest single for you guys, which is Never Enough, released, as I said, on February 7th. So what was the writing and recording process? I'm curious, how do you guys write and build a song?
So this one was actually a bit different because our last 2 and I guess 2.5 EPs, if you count Precious Space, we worked with the same team. And then for Never Enough and Future Material, we actually went to Arizona and recorded with Matt Good. And so we were out. It was the first time, we flew out there. We were there for 3 or 4 weeks. We were in the studio every day just trying to come up with stuff. And if I remember right, Never Enough was one of the last songs that we did, because the way that we did it was we just would come in every day and either work on something previously or just start new ideas. And Never Enough started with that intro riff that you kind of hear that Pulley, Matt, and Ben all kind of put together, and it just went from there. Our bass player Oscar wrote a lot, if not all of the lyrics in that song. He just kind of came in one day and was like, "Oh, hey, here's something that I've kind of been working on," and pretty much everything stuck. There were a few changes, but not a lot. I mean, that song honestly was one of the easier ones in that process for sure.
Oh, right on. So, like, I'm curious. So, like, I work with Matt Good. Did you work with him before, or is this like the first time with this crop of songs?
It was our first time. It was our first time. Obviously, he's been around forever and has a ton of great music under his belt. So when the idea got brought to us, we were immediately interested. And then Matt and I talked prior to us going out there, and it just seemed like the right fit. And it's cool. It's definitely a different take on Archer's music for sure.
Oh, it definitely is. I definitely know. Like, and again, not like huge. You guys are not like switching genres like with like some of the newer music, but you guys are definitely like expanding on elements. I think kind of enhancing where you guys do the best. Like the breakdowns are always awesome. It's just always fun. But I think you guys just really just like building off like the foundation of like previous material with the newer music.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's so cliche at this point because every band says it, but really, it's like if you're not trying to push yourself with each release, there's not much room for growth there. So with this one, we knew going into it was going to be a different product, just with just different producer, different process. But I'm really stoked. I think Never Enough is a really good representation of what's to come with this new material, but it's also there's a lot of surprises still left that I'm really excited for people to hear.
Oh, for sure. So I have heard for you guys, so there's a new EP in the works. Can you give any hints of like what people can expect from new Archer's music?
I mean, if you like Never Enough, you'll like the EP. If you like Precious Space, you'll like the EP. It definitely takes it takes everything that we were doing and just kind of shines a new light on it. I'm not gonna lie and tell anybody that this sounds just like Bitter or sounds just like Making Eyes or whatever song people like, but I definitely think that there's some new fan favorites on here. I think Never Enough is already off to a great start. There's some songs that I'm really excited for people to hear that nobody has heard yet, and I'm stoked. It's gonna be fun. There's so much in the works that I can't talk about yet, but it's gonna be really cool.
Well, I will definitely be on the lookout for when, obviously when you guys can make announcements and everything. So, like, I'm curious, you don't have to tell me the exact title, but is there a title for the EP already?
Oh yeah, there's a title. There's a whole, there's a whole concept behind the imagery. I mean, I take a lot of that responsibility with like artwork and titles and kind of the thematics behind everything. And I'm really excited for what we've come up with for this new EP. And the Never Enough artwork is already kind of a little Easter egg into that kind of new era. So I'm excited. I can't wait. I think it's definitely going to be a different look for us, but I think the fans are really going to like it a lot.
Well, as I said, I'm very excited to see where you guys go with this direction. Obviously, we've really just started 2025, so obviously, a lot more to go with that. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with. But like, I'm curious for you, obviously, because you're currently on tour. We're talking about, obviously writing and recording. So for you, do you approach like writing and recording music differently than performing live?
Kind of, I would say. I mean, probably without even knowing it. Yeah. When you're in the studio, the stakes are kind of higher just because, you're only there for that time. So you have to come up with the best material you can in that time frame. What I really like as a drummer about, playing live versus being in the studio is I take a lot of liberty with how I play a song live. As long as the bones are there, I kind of let myself have free reign for like, if I'm really feeling a set one night, I'll throw in a different fill here or something there. Or, I never try it when I'm writing drums in the studio. I never try. It's called overplaying. Like I never want to like overshadow the song by like just like shredding over the entire thing. But live, if the energy's there and I have a few seconds to kind of play with, like I'll definitely take it. So it's definitely different for sure, but they're both cool in their own right.
Oh, for sure. So like, I'm curious with that. So like, obviously there's, especially with recording, there's like a fine line of like overplaying versus not, not overshadowing the song. Like, how do you find that balance, like recording?
I don't know. It's kind of just an instinct thing, maybe. I think that, obviously a good producer will kind of tell you, hey man, you can kind of spice things up here, or hey man, you need to dial it back here. You know what I mean? There's also multiple members of our band that have, background and more than just their instrument. Like, our vocalist Nathaniel has helped with drum parts. Even our guitarist Ben has been like, oh, well, what if you tried this here? Or I've helped with lyrics before. So it's a very collaborative thing. And I don't know, the more that you do it, the more you kind of just, you always want the bones to be there. You want the main, like, I call it the beef and potatoes of the song. You want the main thing there. As a drummer's job, you're there to just hold down the fort and make sure everything is kind of glued together. But if there is some time when maybe the instruments aren't doing something super crucial, you can throw in a fill here or throw in something there. And it's all kind of instinct based. And, like I said, you work with a good producer, they'll tell you whether it's cool or, hey man, that's kind of dumb.
Has that happened before with producers?
Oh yeah. And it's always with the best intentions, but there's definitely been times where, maybe an idea gets brought to the table that you think is cool in the moment, and then it's not, and that's their job. They're there to tell you what's cool and what's not, right?
Exactly. Now, I did have just a few more things about the set before we start wrapping this up. So I'm curious for you. So currently in the set right now, what is your favorite song to perform live?
Oh man. I mean, Before You Go is always a highlight. I love that song. It's got such a big, it's just a big rock feel to it. The crowd is always super loud. We've been having people put their phone lights up during that song, and to be playing that and just looking at like a sea of lights is always really cool. Before You Go is such a highlight. But honestly, like I said, we're opening with Perfect Strangers. That's another. We all knew that song was good, but I think that song has really taken a life of its own, kind of parallel with Never Enough. You know what I mean? Like, Perfect Strangers immediately shot to our number one. It's about to hit 1 million streams. Never Enough hit 100K in like 4 days. So it's cool to see they're kind of like twins right now because they're both just growing together. Those are probably my top three. Would probably be Before You Go, Perfect Strangers, and Never Enough. They're all just a blast to play, and the crowd has a ball while we're playing them too. So it's always fun.
Well, it's really awesome to hear, especially with just talking about the streams, like with the response for these songs as well, and it translates live as well, which is really cool to see. So, also going along with that, though, so for you, because obviously we're talking about how important drumming is, as you mentioned, like the glue for the songs. So, what's like the most challenging song in the set right now for drumming?
Perfect Strangers definitely has its own set of challenges, not because it's hard, but you just have to be the parts are very focused. So if you let your mind wander, which for me is very easy to do, sometimes you'll mess up here or there. Perfect Strangers is also probably more challenging just because it's a new song in the set. But we close with the song called Black Market Monkey Magic. That is just pretty much a 3.5-minute drum solo, if I'm being honest. Like, when I wasn't even a part of the band when they wrote that song, but when they wrote that song, they intended for it to be a drum moment, and that song keeps me busy for sure. And it's last, so I'm like gassed and like out of breath and tired, and all right, here's the hardest song last, let's do it. But it's a blast, and we've been playing that as long as I've been touring, so now it's just part of the set. But when we first started playing, that song is a handful for sure.
Well, that's why you have to have good stamina if you're a drummer.
Oh yeah.
All right, so now as we're starting to close out this interview, so obviously, as we mentioned, some of the plans for Arches for 2025, but I'm curious, like, how is the rest of the year looking like for you guys?
Super exciting, man. Super exciting. We still have probably 2.5, 3 weeks left of this tour with Catch Your Breath, The Funeral Portrait, and If Not For Me. And then as of right now, we have some downtime in the spring. Probably get some writing done, be as efficient as we can while we're at home. And then in June, we head over to Europe and we do a few headlining shows in Europe, as well as we're playing some festivals like Download, Rock for People, Greenfield, which is going to be really cool. It's our first time ever going over there, and ticket sales over there for the headliners even are doing really great. So I can't wait for that. Just the thought of playing drums in another country is just kind of crazy. You know what I mean? And then after that, we have some stuff in the works for the States in the summer. We just announced that we're going to be on Summerfest in Milwaukee. We're going to be on Rockfest in Cadott, Wisconsin as well, with our friends in The Funeral Portrait, which will be really fun. And then, more stuff in the works. A new EP more than not means a new tour. So maybe we'll see something in the headlining realm this year. We'd love to get another really cool tour for the fall. So our year's definitely filling out. It's really exciting. There's a lot to do. A lot of really cool shows to play. And it's really cool too that we're going to see so many friends throughout the years too. Like us and the Funeral Portrait have way more than just this tour together. So I'm excited. It's going to be a very busy year, very tiring year, but it's going to be awesome.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to everything. You guys have a very busy year ahead, but also very exciting. I hope everything goes well, especially touring in Europe for the first time. I hope everything goes smoothly, especially with travel with that. But I hope the rest of the year goes great. You guys are already off to an awesome start for this year.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So now, for everyone watching, where are the best places to find archers online?
We are everywhere, man. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I mean, we're everywhere. Our Instagram is probably the best place to find information the quickest. It's just at Archers US. And then all of us have our personal accounts linked on there, and you can find us everywhere. But yeah, Instagram or Facebook's probably the easiest. And keep an eye out for shows because we're going to be everywhere. So.
Well, right on. I will leave some links for archers in the description of this podcast. Please check out and support them. But Grayson, thank you so much for stopping by Super Cool Radio.
Absolutely, man. Thank you again for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course, for Grayson of Archers, I'm your host as always, Matthew Thomas. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Super Cool Radio. And remember, stay frosty.